You quit on Periscope?
I did. Look, that was back when people were even using Periscope. The app doesn't even exist.
It
I
doesn't.
outlived the app.
And wasn't that a Twitter thing?
Yeah, it was a Twitter live stream. So it was one of the very first live streaming things that wasn't like for gamers.
Right.
And it was timely for me because everyone was really getting into video more, and I just was not into editing. And so going live worked for me.
Wow.
I was going live like 2 to 3 times a day, and I was making, I think when I knew I was about time to quit, I made $11,000 in 1 week.
On Periscope?
On Periscope. I made way more than that since, like, on Periscope, but that was the start of it. When I was like, I just need to market my product. I don't have an email list. I don't know how to get it out there. So I just started talking about it, and I was reaching a lot of people, and I was able to convert.
What was your profession? Without saying the name of the company, what were you doing before you quit?
Yeah, sure. So I used to work in healthcare as business development. I was the youngest executive in my company. So I was 26 when I came in, and the next person was like 30, 40. So I was brought in to help build a product.
So you had a high-paying, high-profile job.
And I scaled it with my team, obviously, from 2 million to 200 million. And so the turning point for me was when I went to my boss one day and I said to him, what comes next? You know, like a classic 20-something-year-old. Now I wouldn't ask that anymore. I'm like, life, you know. But like, he looked at me and he was like, this is it. Like, the next person is here. You're not going to become a VP at 27. So he was like, this is it. Just do this for a while and then go from there. And I was kind of like, oh, well, that's terrible. I'm ready to do the next big thing. And that was when I started building myself a place to go. Okay. So people hear me quitting and they're like, oh, I should just quit my job. Beyonce's telling me that they're not going to break my soul. I got to get out of here,
Yeah, and break my soul.
Right, and I'm like, that's not the energy. Build a place to go. You want to be the best boss you've ever had. So I'm grateful that I have always cut myself a paycheck.
Yeah.
I built my business debt free. Like, these are all things that I'm so grateful for,
You want to be the best
boss you've ever had. Some people out there are horrible bosses themselves. They don't pay themselves.
Never.
They don't give themselves good hours. They don't give themselves vacation time. They don't have staff. They don't give themselves resources and supplies. They bully themselves. They're all these things. And for me, it was so important that I wanted to be the best boss I ever had. And I gave myself a real shot at winning.
Yeah. How long were you working at that company?
Oh, gosh. I was at that company for, I want to say, 4 or 5 years.
Okay.
But I'd been in corporate America doing everything from mortgage-backed securities to I had my securities licenses for 10 years.
Okay.
I worked through college because my parents didn't have money. So,
because what I'm hearing from your story, which I didn't know this about you, Nicole, was you served, you learned, you thrived.
Yes.
Like you made an impact in every company that you was a part of.
Yes, absolutely. But what was different was who I was making that impact for.
Exactly.
So it was like when I was in corporate, it's not that I don't like corporations, it's just that I was like, I want to help regular people. My company is called Inherit Learning Company, and that's based off of Matthew 5:5, the meek shall inherit the earth.
Top.
I wanted to make sure that the skills that I was learning in corporate, I was giving to the people who could use it, the boardroom to the break room. So I really wanted to make sure that these people who didn't know simple things like what is pricing, what's a profit and loss statement, what's a balance sheet, what's permitting, like just simple things that are required to really thrive. Black women are becoming entrepreneurs at a rate of 9 times the average American, but we're failing faster too. And it's not because the products aren't right. It's not because we're not capable. We know how to work, as evidenced by everything. It's that we just don't understand some of the steps. We don't know where to start, and it's grateful to stand in that gap for people. And that was what I was called to do. So I started doing that immediately. I went live and I just started teaching.
And I love that because you went live while you were working.
Oh, heck yeah.
You were building your stage, your platform, your business while still killing it.
80-hour weeks.
80-hour weeks.
I remember times where my husband, I call it my husband, where I would be up working, teaching myself coding on one page on YouTube, while typing in the code on the other, looking for the backslash I messed up because I was building my own site. He'd be asleep, he'd wake up, and I was still up. You know what I mean? Like, because that's how hard I was going. I gave myself a deadline because I'd adopted these 3 girls.
Yeah.
They're looking at me. I had a 3-year-old, 11-year-old, and a 14-year-old.
Right.
They're 2 going into college, 1 going to kindergarten. Like, I had to make decisions, So I was working, and I mean, I wish I had that youthful energy again. You know what I mean? I was like, I miss those days, but I was working, and then it came time to quit when people were watching me saying, well, if it's going so well, why are you still working a 9 to 5? And I was like, you know what? You're right. What would happen if I gave myself 6 months?
Isn't it sad and I'm trying to be very, very careful at what I'm saying here because I am a CEO and I do have team members on my team. But I when I started my business, I said, you know what? I don't want to be that boss.
Sure.
And you said something, you grew it from 2 million to 200 million. But you probably didn't see the significant pay raise.
No, not at all.
Going from 2 million to 200 million.
Not at all. And I think people feel weird about that, right?
No, absolutely.
They're like, oh, you know, especially as a boss, but it's recognized that you need to be paid according to what works for you for your dreams, goals, and aspirations.
Ooh.
So a lot of people think, oh, I will never shame someone who wants to be an employee and contribute their gifts towards a greater purpose.
Yeah.
Because in exchange for that, they're not worried about, you know, paid time off and regular benefits or whatever else, you know, and I think that a lot of people lose sight of that in this age of be your own boss, have a side hustle, diversify, passive income streams. Look, again, Black women are entitled to rest. You don't have to be all the things and do all the things, you know, it's okay to work a regular job as long as you feel like, again, it's fruitful and meaningful and keeps you healthy.
Yes.
You know, I quit because I'm called and destined to be a CEO. That's like unequivocally part of my DNA, and I talk about that in the book.
Do you believe that every Black person or everybody is called to be their own CEO?
At some place in their life.
Yes.
And I think that's the part that a lot of people are confused about.
Yes.
Whether it's being a CEO in your church, CEO of being a stay-at-home mom, CEO of running your household, CEO of your own health. Like, there is a place in your life where you are called to be in charge and lead. It just may not be within entrepreneurship.
You're talking so good right there. And that is something that I've really been trying to do on my team, right? And it's like, hey, if we go from 0 to 200 million, I want their paychecks to reflect that we went from 0 to 200 million.
Of course.
I don't want
a commensurate bonus. It makes sense. The math makes sense around it. Like, I mean, one thing that I love about anyone who's ever worked with me is, you know, it's a biblical principle. I pay in full and on time. You know, so people who know me know that I am not stingy. It's one of the things that you'll know if someone's lying about me is if they say I didn't pay them or that I didn't give them enough or that I was stingy with the money or whatever. You're not going to catch me on that level. I cut my checks, you know, and I do that because, one, I grew up and I was raised off of tips. I know what it's like for my dad to have a lighter pocket and a lighter wallet, and it meant a lighter fridge, and it meant lighter field trips, and it meant lighter clothing. So I don't understand the distance that my money will go, but I recognize I have an opportunity to be a blessing in someone's life, and I should not withhold that. So I take it very seriously, and I've had people, there's a story in my book, I talk about someone who committed themselves to my business and my purpose. Her name's Gail, right after I quit my job. She called me up the same day. She was on that live and she said, Nicole, I'm called to help you. You know, I'm called to help you, and, you know, and I was like, I can't pay you. I told her right out of the gate, I said, I can't pay you. Like, I don't have the funds to do that and pay myself. You know, I'm prepared to do this alone. And she said, we will sort it out on the back end. I will work with you and we'll sort it out, you know. And I was like, okay, well, let's get started. To this date, we have made millions together, and she is living her dream. You know, she is a stay-at-home. She's doing great. And anything that I have, anything her kids need, I will never eat, and she doesn't, because I would not be here if it wasn't for her. And I say that day in and day out.
Man, this show right here, this is encouraging. This show,
so.
We didn't go the way I thought it was going to go.
Well, because, you know, we know each other. So it's like, I mean, people really are getting to listen in on a catch up because it's been so long.
So long since we've seen each other. Why the title Nothing is Missing for your book?
Oh, that's good. So I actually argued with my publisher about this. You've written so many books, so you understand that process. Yeah. And, you know, they wanted something a little bit more businessy and punchy and that sort of thing. And for me, it was because it's this. When I got into entrepreneurship, it was, well, I need this mentor, I need this stage, or I need this money, or I need this studio, or I need these followers, or I need this opportunity. And I know all of this sounds familiar because people who are listening in this season are saying the same thing to themselves. I would only get there if I had this thing. And it wasn't until I started losing my health that I realized, okay, the priority is being here. And if I'm here, then anything I need is in my presence, you know? And so I share through my book in this memoir different stories where people might look around and say to themselves, how are you gonna get out of this? You're looking at your daughter dying of cancer. You are putting your older daughter into treatment, you know, for recovery because of, you know, substance abuse. How could this be, Nicole? You have everything. even when I had everything, I was still losing in certain seasons, you know, and now I probably have less visually than people think, you know, but it's by choice, you know, I call it stealth wealth, right? You know, and nothing is actually missing.